Today's guest is going to educate us on menopause and share not only what the best tips are for managing hot flashes and night sweats, but also give us a very different perspective on menopause. Ellen Dolgen is on a mission to educate women on menopause and break some of those stereotypes out there. She's now in her 60s, but she struggled with her own experience with menopause over a decade ago when there wasn't very much information out there. So she spent the last 14 years of her life to researching and sharing the keys to the menopause kingdom on her website, ellendolgen.com. And she's got a free book out there called Menopause Mondays, The Girlfriend's Guide to Surviving and Thriving During Perimenopause and Menopause. And she's got a fabulous weekly blog called Menopause Mondays Hot News Flash. She even created a really funny video about a singing uterus explains perimenopause and menopause that went viral. I'll have the link to that one in the show notes because it's absolutely brilliant. Her motto is suffering in silence is out, reaching out is in. And what's really fun about Ellen is that she teaches us all about menopause, not through the lens of a doctor or a researcher with big fancy words, but more like having a coffee with a girlfriend. And it makes everything so much easier to understand. And there are a lot of people out there loving her content too. Prevention Magazine named Ellen as one of the 5 menopause content creators to follow. Her website and her blog were named one of the best menopause blogs by the website Healthline. I think a lot of us know what that is. And Ellen was also asked to be one of the first regularly featured bloggers on HuffPost 50. And she's even done a series of menopause videos with Kim Cattrall. Remember her? She was Sam from Sex and the City. And maybe you've seen Ellen already on American TV shows like The Today Show, NBC Nightly News, or The Rachel Ray Show. She's also on radio, so maybe you recognize her voice from Oprah Radio, NPR, or even Playboy Radio. And Ellen loves the virtual community where she can reach out to millions of people, but she also loves to see people live in the flesh by speaking at conferences or holding Menopause Monday parties. And now it's your turn to meet her. But before we do, let me read the fancy disclaimer. Ellen Dolgen does not recommend, endorse, or make any representation about any tests, studies, practices, procedures, treatments, services, opinions, healthcare providers, physicians, or medical institutions that may be mentioned or referenced. That took a breath. Okay, now without further ado, let's meet Ellen Dolgen. Welcome.
Hi, Zora. So excited to talk to you today.
I'm really excited for this conversation because I think it's a topic everyone wants to know about and how to hack it. But before we do, tell us a little bit more of your background. What were you doing before you hit menopause? And what was that catalyst for your entry into that field of wellness?
Yeah, I mean, I did not go to college to be in the vagina business. I mean, that was not what I studied. I don't think that is even a degree. This is actually my encore career. My husband and I, we work and play together, and we have a real estate investment company. But I kind of came into this through my own perimenopause experience, which was really kind of shocking to me because, I don't know, for me, I had no education about menopause at all. No one even mentioned the word. I mean, in my mind, one day I'd wake up and my period would be gone. And I was like, wow, I can't wait for that because it goes on every holiday with me, including my honeymoon, even though I planned it differently.
Oh.
So, I was thinking this is going to be great, this menopause thing. And my experience happened in the middle, actually, of a board meeting, of a meeting. My husband and I were surrounded by all men, and suddenly, in the middle of a sentence, I couldn't finish my train of thought. My first symptom was brain fog. And I didn't associate that with menopause. And by the way, I felt like I was so far away from menopause. I was in my 40s. So
you're not even thinking about it when you're in your 40s.
you're not. And of course, thanks to you and my mission too, is to let women know when perimenopause starts, because we just don't even know what that word is. I mean, I didn't. So I kept having this brain fog, which was really kind of, it was not only embarrassing, but I was really scared maybe that I had some symptoms of early Alzheimer's disease.
Yeah.
And I really was getting like socially, I would say uptight even to go out and talk. And so it sort of changed my personality for a little bit. And I was so cautious. And thank God my husband could finish my sentences. He would kind of cover. And then I started to be sleepless at night. And I was a great sleeper, so it was odd, you know. And then I thought, oh, okay, I'm just worrying about this too much, you know. I need to go to a doctor. I need to go to a doctor. But, you know, we sort of have ourselves on the bottom of our to-do list. And I was sort of not, also, I was trying to pretend I was fine, even though everyone knew I wasn't fine. But I thought I was doing a good job, but not so much. And then we're at a friend's house and I'm helping with the dishes. And in the middle of drying a pan, I just started crying. Like I broke out into hysterics. And luckily the husband, the host, was a retired gynecologist. And he comes over to me, goes, Ellen, what's wrong? I said, I don't know. I think I have a disease. He says, well, what? I said, well, I lose my train of thought mid-sentence. I said, it's not like, you know, where are my keys? That's something we all forget, where our keys are, or my glasses are on my head and I don't know where they are. It's not that. It's like I really lose my train of thought, like brain fog comes in and washes over me. And now I can't sleep. And now I'm crying in your kitchen. And he like puts his arms around me and goes, Ellen, you're in perimenopause. And I'm thinking, I looked at him with such anger. I remember saying, Joe, I am in my 40s. Why are you saying I'm in menopause? He goes, I didn't say you were in menopause. I said, you're in perimenopause. I said, what the hell is that? You know, I didn't know. And then he explained to me that that's the label for the transition into menopause, you know. And so I learned about that. And he goes, we'll find you a menopause specialist. You're going to be fine.
Wow,
And
that's progressive for back then, rather than here's an antidepressant. Here you go. I'm sure you'll be
you know,
fine.
and yeah, no, and that's true that some women do use those to help them.
Yeah.
But the truth is that there are lots of options, which I think it's important for women to have. And there's no one size fits all, you know, everybody needs something different, you know, but I did reach out to my mom and I said, Mom, she was alive then. I said, Mom, you know, what's with this menopause thing? You didn't tell me about this. She said, I didn't have time for that.
Oh.
And that was sort of like, we're not talking about it. I don't talk about that. And it sort of, I felt shame actually that I had time for it. I mean, what does that mean?
Yeah.
No, I really didn't. But my mom was very puritanical and, you know, thankful I didn't, you know, listen to her sex talk, but I probably would never have had an orgasm my whole life. But she wasn't one to go to for women's issues, you know. I mean, God love her, but you know, she came from a different generation. And you know, you just didn't talk about it. You suffered through that. You know what I'm saying?
And I think it still happens. It's even though it's another generation, I think we still have parents who don't want to talk about it or get over it. Not a big deal. I suffered, so now you have to suffer too. It's just the way it is, or whatever story. I mean, it happens, and that's why you're here to disrupt that and make a change and bring awareness and find solutions. So your menopause experience, you know, the perimenopause experience sounds like, okay, you had this light bulb moment thanks to your doctor friend. And then what happened from there? And did it get better? Were you given solutions?
Oh, my quality of life was on a scale of 1 to 10 was like a 3. Okay.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
I mean, I experienced so many symptoms. I mean, from there, I went into the hot flash also, which was very difficult to function if you have a lot of them all day. And so I found a menopause specialist, and I say that this is the most important thing a woman can do, actually, because most of us think that all gynecologists are trained in menopause, but they're not. As a matter of fact, there was a study done, and they found that less than 1 in 5 OBGYNs have been trained in menopause. Shocking, right?
Yeah, I heard like 7% felt qualified to give menopause advice to a woman, and that's the US. And I'm just assuming that's already pretty
Yeah,
advanced, but it's such a low number.
it's such a low number when you consider that 6,000 women enter menopause every day, and
Yeah.
1 million women in the US are in menopause. So, where are the doctors? This is not good, right? And so I tell women the most important thing is to find out, first of all, if the OBGYN you're going to is trained in menopause, because if they're not, you need to find someone else if you're going through perimenopause and menopause, because you need a business partner, I call it, in this menopause business, so that you can really get the help you need. And so I found a trained menopause specialist. I have lots of information at ellendolgen.com on how to find a menopause specialist,
Great.
so that women don't have to struggle with that part. There is an organization, North American Menopause Society, and it's also international, that has a website called menopause.org. And you can actually type in your zip code and find who they've trained and certified. And so that's really helpful. And then I always suggest women interview the doctor. I mean, we've spent a lot of time finding a salon that cuts our hair and colors our hair. We want the best. Well, we need to find the best menopause specialist. So I say take some time on that and make sure that you even interview the doctor, find out what their concept of treatment is. Some are big believers in bioidentical hormone therapy, and some won't even use it. Some, use other techniques, like we'll talk about later. But the point is, you need to be comfortable that somebody respects you and you have good communication. And so, I mean, that's the key to the menopause journey, that really is getting a good doctor on your team. Because there are, issues during perimenopause and then postmenopause. We're in that the rest of our life. So arriving in menopause is just a blip of a day.
You're right. It's just one moment in time. And this whole journey actually is a lot longer. One question for you, you mentioned on finding a menopause specialist. That's for the US or North America. Do you know of any resources, or do you have them on your website for people in Europe, Australia, Asia?
Well, they do have international, North American Menopause Society is international. So you can go online and wherever you are in the world and Google menopause specialist, and you'll find some options for you. Yeah.
Great. So let's talk about hot flashes. Now,
Yes.
why do we get them? What's this mechanism behind it?
Yes. So again, the hot flash is quite the drama queen. They can come and go at the horrible times, I've got to say. So during this menopausal transition, which is basically perimenopause, okay, that first stage, the ovaries begin to work less, okay, and the production of hormones goes down. Estrogen and progesterone go down. And this is what, in layperson speak, this is what causes the hot flash. And many women, some women don't get hot flashes, they don't have any. And some women get so many that it changes the quality of their life. So you don't know where you're going to be in that.
Is it genetic? Why do some people get them and some people don't? And what does it feel like? What is a hot flash like? Let's describe
Okay.
it. Let's make sure people understand what we're
Here's
talking
my
about.
first hot flash. Okay. Like I was also in a meeting, and suddenly, starting from my toes, working all the way up to my head, I had this like internal flash of heat, like really huge wave come over me. And then I started sweating profusely, coming down my face, it went down, the sweat came in between my breasts, all the way down to the inseam of my pants. I mean, I looked down, I looked like I had run a 10K, but I was sitting at a table talking about real estate. And my husband looked over at me and he was just like, but I didn't know, he thought maybe I was sick, because I looked like I may faint or something because I was just suddenly sweating. I carry a huge purse. I think it makes my hips look smaller. So thank God I have my huge purse. I also use it as a briefcase. So I got my huge purse. I give my husband a little nudge, and that's like, we're out of here. We got to get out of here. And we get out of that meeting. I put that big purse in front of me, and he was behind me, and we just ran out of there. And that was my first hot flash. It was like in public and quite shocking, actually. And so many women have this. I always say now, you just say, hey, it's not contagious. It's not COVID. I mean, you can make a joke about it. I'm gonna be fine in a minute, Matter
How
of fact,
long does it last? And
well,
is it
everybody's
different?
different, but it's usually pretty fast. I mean, pretty quickly you go through the process, and then,
Like a minute, 2 minutes?
yeah, could be less even. I mean, you're just literally, it happens like that. And then what happens is, this decrease triggers like an all hands on alert of your body, and your body starts to pump, your heart starts to race faster, the blood vessels in your skin dilate to circulate more blood, to radiate heat, and your sweat glands release sweat because your sweat glands are trying to cool you down.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of the best way to describe it. It's just, it sucks, and nobody wants to have one.
I'm wondering if are there any benefits to it, such as exercise? It sounds like we know that sauna can mimic exercise, and you're laying down doing nothing, you're just sweating. So are there any benefits to this? Is this similar to an exercise workout?
I have not heard of one benefit for the hot flash or the night sweat. It feels like you ran the 10K. It does not do what a 10K does for you. It doesn't. As a matter of fact, it is not great to have a lot of hot flashes. It is really, there's some science on it that you really need to do something about it if you have a lot of them. Yeah.
So why do some people have them and some people don't? Or have more and some have less?
Frankly, I've never really read anything that explains that. I think it probably depends on the level of dipping of estrogen, like why do some women have PMS and some women don't? Some women have terrible breast tenderness, some women have cramps. I think it's the hormone levels, and that maybe that surges are different.
I read somewhere that women who are have more fat have more hot flashes. So losing some weight may help with the hot flashes. I'm not sure how true that is, but
yes, it is true, actually. Yes, yes. Wait, the one of the things you can do to help with hot flashes, lifestyle change, is to look at your diet. It actually is proven that if you lose weight, if you have excess weight, which, most of us enter menopause and suddenly we're a member of the sisterhood of the shrinking pants. It's like, what the F happened here? And that is a real thing, because sometimes your metabolism slows down also when your hormones are declining. So, women can find that they've gained weight, especially in the middle weight gain in the middle, in the tummy area, because even if they're eating the same healthy food and still working out, and it's just a little different because your metabolism, so you have to change things up. I have a lot of recommendations about that on my site, but it's real. And I don't think we should shame women to think that, oh, you're just eating too much. No, it's real. It's real. So but that will help hot flashes, reduction of weight. Even like a lot of women who lose maybe like 10 pounds find it significant, who are overweight. I mean,
this is be women who are overweight. If you're normal weight, don't go and start losing weight.
No, actually not. Actually, they say for women in midlife and beyond, you should have a little weight on you. You shouldn't be like what you were in high school, which women are always trying to achieve. I want to go back to my weight when I was in high school, which, by the way, I didn't even think I was, thin enough then. I mean, are we ever thin enough? Okay, that's another topic, Zora. But
let's talk about the 3 top tips to stop the hot flashes. If somebody's listening now, what can they do to reduce them or get rid of them?
Okay, well, there's 3 categories. Let's put it that way. Okay. The first is a hormonal option. Okay. Hormonal option would be hormone therapy, FDA approved replacement of your estrogen and your progesterone. If you haven't had a hysterectomy, you need progesterone. If you've had a hysterectomy, you don't need that. You just need estrogen. It works like a dream. I'm going to tell you, it works immediately. Within weeks, you're not going to have your hot flashes because it balances your body again. Now, there are many women who are afraid of hormones, afraid of hormone therapy, anti-hormone therapy. I get that. My next blog on Monday is actually about hormone therapy, so that I'm trying to educate women to base their healthcare on facts instead of fear. Some women think they're going to get breast cancer, they're going to have a heart attack because of the way the Women's Health Initiative was reported. But there's so many people trying to re-educate women and doctors today on this. It's a good blog to read if you're thinking about this option. The other option is non-hormonal, but also prescription, that has helped a lot of women, which is, like you said, an antidepressant. Like some cancer survivors who have immediately go into menopause after, let's say you've had cancer or you've had chemotherapy. Lots of those things cause estrogen, stripping drugs, whatever. You can have severe debilitating hot flashes where you can't function. So luckily we have these other options. I wouldn't go on an antidepressant first myself, but that would be an option for someone who doesn't want to do hormones and nothing else has worked. It's good to know these are available. So they're antidepressants, low dose. There's also medications off-label that are mood stabilizers. We've all heard of them, like Effexor, Paxil, those kinds of things. Lexapro, antidepressants that are mood stabilizers are used off-label, meaning that they aren't FDA approved for hot flashes, but they have found that they help women a lot. They even have anti-seizure medications like gabapentin that some women find very helpful, and some over-the-counter bladder medication that is helpful, and high blood pressure medications that are helpful. So that's the category of medication that is hormonal and non-hormonal. There is now a new medication, so we're still in medications, that is just approved by the FDA, was approved on May 12th. I know women that were in the study that literally changed their hot flash life. And this is non-hormonal. It's called Veozah, and it's spelled Veozah, Veozah. That's how it's pronounced. It works on the hypothalamus, which is the part of the brain that regulates our temperature. And so it's a whole new concept in dealing with hot flashes, which is revolutionary and really needed for women. And it's supposed to block this NKB, brain chemical. Again, way above my head in science. I'm just giving it to you in lay speak. And it will help control our temperature center in the hypothalamus by doing that. And
That makes
also it's
sense.
supposed to help control the intensity of the hot flashes too. So, it remains to be seen. It's only been in trial, and now it's going to be out there probably in a few months. So you're in the cutting edge know.
Yes,
Everyone.
that's fresh off the press, and
Yeah.
that's to be seen. So that's really
Yes.
exciting, and it makes sense. The hypothalamus being the regulator of body temperature. Wow, like how we didn't think about this before. It makes perfect sense.
And I know a lot of women are anti-pharmaceuticals, but let me tell you something. Women, let's not be anti-science, because science is helping all of us. Science is helping us. If you have been diagnosed with breast cancer, you have such a good outcome now. I have many women I've walked through breast cancer with, and it is so encouraging. It's all because of science. And so this is a revolutionary discovery, and I hope that a lot of women who need it get the help they deserve. So then we move into lifestyle changes, which, by the way, I think are good to do even if you end up going on the hormonal or the non-hormonal medication side. I think lifestyle changes literally can help your overall health in every way. I know you have that same philosophy. We share that together.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
So
you should be doing this whether or not. Yeah. No matter what.
yeah.
And not just for the hot flashes. It's just so many other great side benefits. So what do you recommend in terms of lifestyle?
Well, specifically for hot flashes, okay, it's important to know anything hot except your lover. Keep them hot. Keep her or him hot, whatever you prefer. But hot, like coffee, hot things can trigger hot flashes. So
not necessarily spicy food.
Also spicy, that's my next one. But
sorry.
hot, meaning
hot
like
drinks.
hot food. So if you're finding that you're out to dinner, and you're having a hot bowl of soup, or, just stay away from the hot food if you're really getting triggered. It will help a little. Also, don't shoot the messenger, but alcohol triggers hot flashes in many women. And a lot of us, think maybe, it's going to be great to have a glass of wine and calm us down. But, frankly, there's so much science out there now on alcohol. I think it's going to be treated like tobacco soon. It's not good for anything, ladies. It just isn't. So anyway, that's why
one thing it's not necessarily for I did a great interview with Dr. Carrie Jones. This could be information for people if it helps them a little bit manage the alcohol. The hot flashes, we didn't talk about hot flashes, but the way she explained it is that estrogen, that's how you have in your body, just because you're going through perimenopause doesn't mean you have no estrogen, but it needs to be detoxified. But when you drink alcohol, that's a toxin and needs to be detoxified by the liver, just like the estrogen does. And when you drink alcohol, estrogen
I couldn't, you were frozen. So,
sorry.
Step back on what the doctor said.
So Dr. Carrie Jones, the way she explains it, alcohol needs to be detoxified by the liver, but so does estrogen. Estrogen needs to be detoxified by the liver to become safe to circulate in the body. When alcohol comes in, that pushes estrogen to the back of the line. Estrogen's got to wait until the alcohol is detoxifying. So you're sitting here with potentially harmful estrogen circulating in your body, waiting to be detoxified. So in fact, it's very, very, it behooves you to not drink too much alcohol to have this potentially unsafe estrogen circulating. We want it to be detoxified as fast as possible. So please, be mindful of the alcohol.
Yeah, it makes sense what you're saying, because that triggers a hot flash, right? Lack of estrogen. So if it's not getting to your body, the more you drink,
Yeah. Well, it needs to be converted into a safer
right.
stretch estrogen and then get out of your body. But if it's sitting there and waiting to be detoxified, you're just sitting there with toxins in the body that aren't necessary. You get the toxin over the alcohol and toxic estrogen. So yeah.
The other thing is, having a good sleep hygiene is really important too. And one of the things that has been proven to be really helpful, I know it sounds weird, is to sleep in a really cool bedroom. Like 65 to 67 degrees is the number. Now here in San Diego, that means we have air conditioning on. But, in the East, of course, I guess you could just open the windows in the winter. But it really does make a difference. And I know, a lot of our spouses or lovers are like under the covers freezing because we want the room so cold, but it's actually healthier for everyone to sleep in a colder environment. So, I suggest giving it a try to help with those night sweats because it is supposed to be really helpful.
And if your partner is not into it, there are a lot of women, I'm not sure if you've used this, but there are a lot of women who talk about the chili pad or the Uller. And this is a mattress that cools your side of the bed. It's a not mattress cover, I think. So it's one of those things that, because you could be fighting all day long with your partner, so he's freezing and you're hot, and it's a nightmare. So I think that is a really, have you tried that? Or
I have not used it.
It's maybe
I've
didn't
definitely
exist
heard of it.
when you were going through it, but now it exists, and women love it. So I'm not affiliated. I should probably do a podcast on it to understand more about it, but definitely go look for Uller.
It makes sense
or
though,
chili
because
pad. Yeah.
you can have a dual control. So that makes sense that it would be really helpful.
Or you open the window and give your husband a heating pad or something, double blankets.
Exactly.
Or wife or partner, whoever that is.
The other thing that I think does help is having some calmness, some calming techniques, which help with overall body health. So I find meditation, breathing, being more mindful, having more mindfulness in your whole life, including when you eat, which will help your weight loss, because, as women, we're grabbing food all the time, like on the go. And what happens is we eat so fast, our body isn't even registering we're full. So we're just eating. And I really did sort of start to take this mindfulness approach to food. And I noticed I ate a lot less, and it helped trim me down. And then I interviewed, this is a fascinating thing, last year at the North American Menopause Society convention. Now, this is where they train doctors and health practitioners to become menopause specialists. They actually get certification. And scientists from all over the world come to these conventions. I happen to attend them so I can stay up on everything and interview the people that are the smartest. And so Neil Bernard, who has done a lot of studies on nutrition and how it impacts our health, he did 2 studies on women eating a vegan diet, a low-fat vegan diet, and eating a half a cup of soybeans a day. Now that tofu's not included, neither edamame. It has to be soybeans, so you have to make them. And that women found that it reduced their hot flashes drastically, and some of them eliminated their hot flashes. So I know it's a big lifestyle change, but if you are really having debilitating hot flashes, which, like I did, and you aren't interested in taking any hormones or medication, this could be something to try. I mean, to me, it's worth trying something like that. Also, you do lose weight. And when you lose weight, your hot flashes are going to reduce too, because it's a low fat diet. It's not, I mean, there's like almost no oil.
Oh, wow.
And
That's kind of
yeah,
hard. That you'd think it would be, the hormones would have a little bit of a hard time without enough fats or the brain, or it's, but you know, everybody's got to find their diet. I had one client, I remember, a woman in her late 50s, and she said that she'd always take her coffee with soy milk. And she said that helped a lot with the hot
yeah,
flashes.
yeah, yeah.
And what
Totally.
you did mention, I think this is another important point, is to managing the stress when you said to be mindful. I know I've heard and I've read that stress can be a trigger. And
Mhm.
if you want to, you can, as a biohacker, we're always looking for hacks, but biohackers always test and analyze the results. So just take a piece of paper and pen or put it in your computer. Of the days that you have hot flashes, journal, try to figure out, make some connections and say, hey, yeah, you know what? Every time I get a hot flash is when I have an argument or I'm feeling this way, or and all that. So do a little bit of hacking, and you can find out if stress is a trigger. Then you can try to manage that as much as you possibly can for the hot flashes.
And you don't need to have a special pillow with a bell and a gong and a incense or any of that, ladies. All you have to do for even just the breathing technique, I use this a lot. Even in the middle of the night, if I wake up in the middle of the night and I can't get back to sleep for some reason, I just breathe in deeply through my nose and breathe out slowly through my mouth 5 to 10 times. I am asleep before I get there. If I'm at my desk and I'm, working on something and I feel like I'm getting, stressed, because, it's quite easy to say, oh, deal with your stress. Oh yeah, thanks. How? But this really works. They actually use this breathing technique in the army. And it's a proven technique that actually brings your cortisol levels to a better place. So I mean, when I do a big speech, I have everyone in the place do it with me.
It's
So
a great technique. I did the breathwork certification with Oxygen Advantage, and it's one type of breathwork. And there was another girl in there who's a girl. She's going through menopause as well as me, and we did this small study, and we got I think about 20 women who are going through menopause, and we taught them how to breathe, and the results were fabulous. They all felt amazing after just learning how to breathe a little bit. And that waking up in the middle of the night for, I don't know, for a night sweat or because you're stressed or something, and it does bring your mind out of that cycle of thinking and worrying and, oh my God, I'm feeling so horrible, or I'm feeling so hot. It does bring that mind to the breath, and that you just try it. I'm really glad you brought that up. I'm wondering though, what's the difference between a night sweat and a hot flash?
Well, you're in bed basically, and it's pretty much the same thing, except you're in bed and you're sweating through your sheets a lot of times, and it unfortunately breaks your sleep pattern, because you have to sometimes women literally have to change their sheets, take a shower. And hot flashes, usually they refer to that during the day.
So
You're
it's the
having
same kind of feeling. It's just,
yeah. I
yeah.
mean, one can be more devastating than the other, depending on how wet you get.
Yeah.
A night sweat usually get really more wet.
Interesting.
But
Can you get a night flash? I mean, a night sweat, and not be soaking, but just feeling kind of hot and your heart racing a little bit, but not sweating? Is that a
yeah,
possibility? I mean, is there a
I mean,
spectrum
they
to
would
it?
probably call that a flash, maybe, it's
Mm-hmm.
faster, quicker, but yeah. I
Mm.
mean, honestly, the terms are sort of, interchangeable for a hot flash and a night sweat, but technically most of the women experiencing night sweats are referring to the fact that they are just soaked.
Yeah, they
Just
usually refer to that, but I'm just wondering if there's a spectrum as well. Like you said, some people have them more intense and some people less.
Yep, there is a
And
spectrum on
it's
all of it. I mean, some
yeah.
people just have a little flush during the day. It's like no big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah, it's
then
interesting. Yeah, so it becomes a problem then again when it bothers you and it stops you from, sleeping, or stops you from having a conversation because you got to go and get a fan or get an air conditioner, or it just bothers you. I guess if it's so light, it doesn't bother you and you barely notice it, then maybe there's nothing to do about it.
Yeah, but like when I was doing these series of menopause awareness little campaign with Kim Cattrall, she was telling me that, you know, she was on stage and, you know, she couldn't control it, just completely break out into a complete hot flash with, you know, have to redo the whole makeup. And, you know, it can be career changing if you're in certain careers. So, you know, everybody has to balance their what their needs are, you know, with their risk and benefit, you know, whatever, and figure out what the best options are for them. Because you might have a hard time, let's say, you know, keeping a job if you are on stage having hot flashes. So, you know, you're not going to be able to whip out a fan or run off the stage and change your clothes. So, you know, I think we have to understand that nobody should shame themselves for needing medication. Nobody should shame themselves for any decision they make. You should go with what's comfortable for you, and also with guidance from a menopause specialist, because, you know, there's a lot of herbal supplements out there. And some women just walk into a grocery store and buy them, you know, and some of them act as estrogen, you know, can act similarly with other medication or whatever, you know, and they're not FDA approved. So the best thing to do is to do your research and talk to your menopause specialist. This is my health, you know, this is my own profile, my health profile, you know, what are the safest options for me? And some of those, you know, are worth trying, but it's good to get the guidance of a menopause specialist on those too.
Do you have any research that you know of on supplements or certain supplements working for hot flashes?
I don't. And the North American Menopause Society continues to say that there is no over-the-counter dietary supplement or herbal remedy that has been found to be effective. That came out last year as well. And they caution women from using them without consulting a healthcare provider. So that's their science on it.
Mm-hmm. You've heard some adaptogens like ashwagandha, maca, rhodiola. There's certain adaptogens that I heard may help, but nothing I hear helps as much as hormone therapy. It seems to me everyone across the board says, well, if you want to just nip it in the bud real fast, like that's where you go to, as long as you're comfortable with it and you can, and you will. And then after that, then we got to find other things for other people who cannot or will not. And so I was just curious to hear about that. What do you think is the biggest myth about menopause?
That it happens when you're old. It does not. It does not. The average age in menopause is 51. So if you do the math, you go through perimenopause first,
which
and
is
that can be 2 to 10 years where you're transitioning into menopause. So subtract 10 years from 51, you know, 41, you can start going through perimenopause, which is the time where most women get the symptoms. And I have you can't see this. I have a symptoms chart on my website that you can download, Menopause Mondays symptoms chart. Just download it. And if you want to try to figure out if you're starting perimenopause or where you are, start charting your symptoms. And if you have marks on that, find a menopause specialist, take it in to them and say, this is how I feel. I worked with menopause specialists and not pharmaceutical, who else did I work with? Well, nurse practitioners who also deal with health, with people in menopause. And we created this chart. And it's the most, you know, it's over 30, it's about 25, 30 symptoms. And they're the ones that people talk about the most. And if you just chart that, you'll know whether you're starting your perimenopausal journey then the average age of menopause is 51. And what does it mean to be in menopause? It means you've been without a period for 12 consecutive months. Now, I always tell women, if you've been without a period for 6 months, and then suddenly in the middle of a patio party in your favorite white dress, your period arrives, that was me, you have to start the clock over. So it's 12 consecutive months. So don't be so quick to let those pads with wings fly out the window, because you may need them. You may need all that paraphernalia again. So wait till you've been without any bleeding at all for 12 months. And then you've arrived in menopause. There's no cap and gown ceremony. I mean, I tried to find a Hallmark card or something, nothing, there's nothing. And then the next day, you're in postmenopause.
We need a card. Congratulations, you made it to menopause. Woohoo, let go.
Right. I mean, don't you think we need
and the
something?
tampons and
I mean, you know, they have these birthday cakes that they have like butterflies fly out of now. And I was just thinking, Ellen, you should create a new business. You have a cake with pads and Tampax flying out, and women could get that. I just haven't had time to do that.
That would be brilliant. Let's have a party and celebrate it, because menopause, in my mind, should be celebrated, not dreaded.
Yeah, there's good things about menopause too, because you kind of don't give a F anymore. And you realize that all the things you worried about as a younger woman were like a waste of energy, just like love yourself, embrace yourself, and hey, I am woman, that's what happened to me.
That's great. I love that one. We're going to make a reel into that, because that's brilliant.
Oh, yeah, you're recording this. Oh.
Let's talk about your speaking engagements, because that's what you do best. How do those tie into the topics and themes that are covered on your blog?
Well, I really try to get out in the community and educate women. Most of the time, I'm hired by corporations to come educate their employees. And that's happening more and more. If you notice out in the social media, there is a lot of talk about menopause in the workplace.
Yeah. Guys are listening to it too, or only women attending?
Well, most of the time it's women. Of course, it's optional, and the men usually don't come. But I have had some men in the audience, and over COVID, it became virtual, which is great. And I still do virtual speaking engagements. I just did one last week to 700 women who make small parts for large factory equipment, and it was an international company. And a fabulous woman. Anyway, the reason why a lot of corporations are hiring me now is they have done some studies, and they know now that menopause costs the US dollars. This is an interesting factoid. I hate, statistics, but this will blow your mind. They recently published that $1.8 billion are lost in the workplace due to menopause.
Wow.
And $26.6 billion annually due to medical expenses, when you add the medical expenses. So here's what that tells me. We need to educate women on menopause so they can get the help they need and deserve. You shouldn't have to miss work. You shouldn't have to leave a job because you're embarrassed because you're having hot flashes all day and you can't function. There's someone to help you with that. And that's my message. And so I try to educate women to become their own health advocate. And you can go in after listening to my talk or subscribing to my Menopause Mondays blog. It's free. And you can educate yourself so that when you go in with issues, you can ask the right questions in 15 minutes and get the help you need, because we don't get a lot of time with our doctors. And also, I think just understanding that there are menopause specialists out there will help women. get the help they need and deserve. Because after all, if you broke your kneecap, would you go to a dentist? No.
Yeah.
So women are going to their internist. The person's has no training on menopause. Or they're going to a gynecologist with no training on menopause. How are you going to get help, guys? No, you're not. So, you know, I try to leave women with three things. One is that they're not alone. I mean, there are so many women in menopause. I gave you that figure, 1 million in the US. 6,000 enter every day. Trust how you feel. Women, when we don't feel good, this happened to me. I wasn't feeling good. I pretended I was feeling good. And I didn't go right away and get help. I mean, thank God my friend was a gynecologist, a retired gynecologist. I had been dealing with that for 3 years of not good quality of life, you know? And then get the help you need and deserve. Go make the phone calls. Take the time to put yourself on your own to-do list so that you actually take good care of yourself.
That's great advice. And I'm going to have all the links on the on the show notes to your website, ellendolgen.com, as well as links to your free ebook and all that. And people can book you if they want to book you for a speaking engagement.
Yeah.
They can find that as well, right? On your website?
Yes. And you can email me at ellen@ellendolgen, ellen@ellendolgen.com. And, you know, you can find me everywhere. You can even voice message me from my website.
Oh,
I've
cool.
had many women do that in a crisis at their desk.
So which is a question and one a bit more personal. When you look back at your career, you know, when you look back over your career many years from now, let's say,
okay,
what do you think that you'll be most proud of?
Well, you know, I think aside from the fact that, of course, my family is the most important thing in my life, and my husband, grandchildren, my daughter, my daughter-in-law, and they're on the top of my list of life. But is that I gave back to the sisterhood. This has been the most rewarding thing I've done. In the 14 years, I have helped so many women, and I have saved many lives. I get emails all the time because I said it at a convention, you know, if you're having bleeding in postmenopause, any kind of bleeding, if you're in postmenopause, you must go to your gynecologist because it could be something serious. And I have had women say that if I hadn't said that, they wouldn't have, you know, they wouldn't have gone back to the doctor, and they ended up with cancer, and it was early and it's taken care of. And I still, some of those women email me every year. I'm still good. I'm still good. So, and I try to, you know, I just did a blog on dense breasts way before anybody knew I got the press release way before it was out in the public. And I wrote about it. I called one of the top doctors who developed the tomosynthesis mammogram. He's in Harvard. And I said, you need to tell me what to tell women about dense breasts, and tell me the truth, not what the insurance company wants to pay for. I want you to tell me the truth. I have that blog on my website. So, you know, I just try, I think helping the sisterhood has been something. I mean, I don't know if that should be on my gravestone, but you know, maybe. But although I don't know how I want to be buried yet, I don't like any of the things. I don't want to be burned. I don't want to be in a house. I don't want to be in the ground. So I can't die yet. I've told my husband that.
I haven't decided yet.
Yeah, it's like I haven't picked out the outfit yet. I can't. But I think that would be it.
Is there, when you became a wellness personality out there, because you've been on all these shows and everything, was there anything you were afraid of?
Oh my God. The first show I did was Rachel Ray first.
Wow.
And I had diarrhea for 5 days before that. I mean, I was like,
sorry,
what am I doing?
I shouldn't laugh.
Yeah, I mean, it's not a great diet. Trust me. It was terrible. I was so nervous because here's the thing, I was not a writer. This was not my thing. You know, I wrote the book with my son, by the way, that I was trying to find, which
Mm.
was simple, easy to understand, my first book. And then we self-published it, and then that got picked up by Hyperion Voice, a division of Disney ABC, but then we repurposed it. And then now I have the free ebook on my website because, you know, not everybody can even afford a book. And I want everybody to get the information they need. So, you know, I charge for my speaking engagements, but nothing on my website. Everything is for women, the free Menopause Mondays blog. And now I have the free ebook. But yeah, no, I was not comfortable public speaking. Now I'm fine. I've been doing it so much, you know, I don't get diarrhea. It's a good news. But I mean, I was a wreck. Yeah. I
Yeah.
was like, oh my God. You know, no one told me I had to talk about the book, you know.
Yeah, no, it's amazing. I'm so glad you did, and that you've been trailblazing this for all of us for the last 15 years or so, really breaking open this conversation about menopause, making it normal and not to be afraid of talking about it. Now you've got so much information. I'll have links to the ellendolgen.com website, the your Menopause Mondays free hot news flash newsletter, and your blog. You've got so much out there. I'll have all this in the show notes. I'm gonna have to let you go because we're getting off on
Okay.
the hour, but I'm wondering, are there any last words that you have for a woman going through menopause?
Yeah, I mean, look, you know, I think the most important thing is that you need to not suffer in silence. And there's absolutely no reason to suffer. There are options. I hope I shared some just for hot flashes, but there's a lot of symptoms of that you can experience that can change your quality of life and also your relationships if you don't take care of them, like intimacy problems, you know, sexual problems, things that actually are hormonal and make changes in your body, but don't pretend that they aren't happening. Get the help that you need and deserve. And that's really my motto.
Oh, love it. Thank you so much. And have a great day and a good morning, good night for everybody else who's listening. And we'll see you next time.
I love chatting with you. You're amazing to be helping the sisterhood. Thank you so much.